There's just 1 minute to showtime.
The engines are on.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
When they wrote up the systems and the rule set that we use, did working people get to write a line? What class of men on pen and paper jotted down their clues? With capital the heart of their design. When 90 million want a thing, but some shareholders say no, which class of people get to have their way? The people read the fine print, say that this thing has got to go, and we'll start writing a new contract here today. Don't you know that hundreds will work and one man keeps the money? They don't think they gotta tell us why. When they say the new social contract, all the bosses will be gobsmacked and everyone will want a sign. Oh, yeah, everyone will want a sign.
All right. Hello, cousins. Thank you for joining us for an all-new episode of Social Contract. I am here as ever with my illustrious co-host, Mr. Mayor Jared. Hello, Jared. How are you today?
What's up, guys? Good afternoon. Good morning.
Good morning. Something like that. It's still time change grace period, I think. If you enjoyed our theme song as much as I always do, you can't see me, but I'm always kicking it to it. You have Mr. Jared to thank for his really excellent and talented stylings. And if you like that, then make sure you check out his music on every platform that music is done. So he's got a new album out, Songs to Pay for My Pool, after having a catastrophic pool failure that needs repairing. So make sure that you donate to the pool fund and check out what he's got going on. Do you have any appearances coming up that you want to plug?
I do not. I do play out live, but it's always at like weird niche events where it's not like, oh yeah, I'll just go around to the corner bar and see Jared.
Okay. Well, yeah, if you're around the corner bar, see if Jared's playing. You might be there. Yeah, maybe you'll get lucky. But you can pick up his music anytime. Shout out to the chat, to Are You Time Traveler 2 is one of our regular viewers. Hello and thank you for joining us today. So we have a kind of an unusual show. We've kind of been a little bit avant-garde here lately, compared to some of our older shows where it was easier to dissect what was going on and kind of focus in on some stories. With things being so fickle and insane, because we all know Trump is going to like say something, then the next day he's going to say something else, and then the next day it's going to go back, and then the next day it's over with. So with all his fickleness that we already know about, and the media like absolutely hemorrhaging viewers and readers, they are really feeding into it to make it seem like this concentrated brick of news that you really can't read into, because they're really just trying to sensationalize things as much as possible to get your attention and get you to have big knee-jerk reactions and stuff. So we've kind of strayed a little bit from the straightforward-ish way that we kind of talk about things. And this week we're going to probably look into some things that have to do a little bit more with what are the limits of presidential power or proxy power if no one is challenging it in any kind of way. And obviously we're going to be talking about like the Dems falling out completely, which doesn't really seem too out of the plan, that they basically, we've been saying the whole time, it's a uniparty. They go along with this stuff because they want it to. There's only so many donors, there's only so many corporate donors. There's only so much corporations to pay for things, and they all want the same things. So to think that the Democrats were ever any super strong opposition party was always a mistake. And now we're finding out with the super low level of confidence it's looking like people have. in them, in the party, and you could hardly blame anyone. And we were talking a minute before the show that like, oh yeah, well, it seems like people are waking up to this, but they're not. Like 3 years and some, we're going to be right back in the same situation where everybody's like, oh, President Pete, and then that's where we're going to end up. Everybody got short memories. And everybody gonna be liberal again, so that's where we're probably gonna end up, anyways. But that we will get into a little bit later. One thing that is going on is, to the surprise of no one, ceasefire is over. So that's going on, and now America has also targeted Yemen specifically to do the bidding of Israel. Again, for the greater Israel plan that we've been talking about for a very long time at this point. And I'm sorry, I have like distraction mode. Like I keep getting email pop-ups. I'm like, why does everybody want to email me the minute I go on air? Like, please stop. Ordinarily, like 99.9% of my life, it's like not a problem. And then like I get on for an hour-long show, and it's like, anyways, I'm going to shut up about my emails and turn things over to Mr. Jared, who is going to start things off with because we can only really talk about what we know. Things will be different tomorrow. Things will be different next week on the next show. So as what we know, as what is being reported, this is what's going on now between the U.S., Israel, and Yemen.
Well, we have yet another step in our no new wars president's foreign policy here, where we are starting. I don't know, is the Yemen thing a new war? Is it just a continuation of what we've already been doing? I don't know, but this is the kind of thing that a lot of people were really hoping would stop under a Trump administration, because he campaigned quite extensively on the to end the forever wars, I think is how they phrased it, which is like a good way to phrase it. That's like a thing I agree with. I think we should end the forever wars, but the actions that actually take place don't seem to be moving us in that direction.
It's Trump also what got MAGA thinking that he was some sort of a non-war, no war type of a president, which is absolutely not true. He's very accelerationist, and I think that's very clear.
There's many different reasons that people voted for President Trump, and if it's the people who talk about the desire for the forever wars to stop being one of their reasons, those are people I can talk to all day. We probably have a lot to talk about if you happen to be one of those people. Trump warns Iran will face dire consequences unless Houthi attacks stop. Sorry, I updated my OS yesterday and it keeps throwing new windows. It's like, did you know you can do this? It's like, can I do
You're
the
getting
thing
it too. It's happening to you too. We're under attack.
It's like, you can use your iPhone as a camera, and it's like, that's awesome. I have a camera plugged in right now. I'm doing stuff. U.S. President Donald Trump has warned Iran that it will face dire consequences if Yemen's Houthis continue to attack international shipping lanes. He said that Iranian leadership would be held responsible for every shot fired by the Houthis, which have long been backed by Tehran. The group later said it had targeted a U.S. aircraft carrier 3 times in the past 2 days. The Houthis first tried to attack the USS Harry Truman in the Red Sea on Sunday, following deadly U.S. strikes on Yemen. The Pentagon said it had struck 30 targets in Yemen since Saturday, in the biggest U.S. military operation in the Middle East since Trump returned to the White House. It's funny to phrase it that way, because he's only been there for like 3 months, so it's like, the biggest one yet. It's like, the biggest of 3 months. Trump posted on his Truth Social platform on Monday, every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon from this point forward as being a shot fired from the weapons and leadership of Iran. And Iran will be held responsible and suffer the consequences, and those consequences will be dire. All right, we got to the quote that the headline is based off of. And, like, Iran does provide a lot of the weapons that Yemen uses, but it is kind of, I don't know, obnoxious to be like, the freaking people in Yemen are just pure puppets of Iran, because it just, like, fully takes away any kind of agency or national, like, in general, at least from, like, the videos and things I've been seeing, the Yemeni people are not scared of America, and they are pretty much they're pretty into it, pretty into what is. If Yemen was the U.S., this whole situation would be seen so differently. It's like comical, where it's Yemen is patrolling its own waters. Like, this is just right off the coast. Yemen isn't like sending battleships across the globe to go fight us, and like what we do with China, where we get mad that China is boating around in the South China Sea. Oh, what is China doing in the China Sea? This is crazy. They're macking on everybody else's international water space over here. What do you get out of here, China? This is the Chinese sea. You aren't allowed to be here. But Yemen is just off its own coast, patrolling its own waters. But, of course, according to the international community, that means they're violating somehow America's, like, territory, because we have 10 billion military bases everywhere. And, of course, this is how we get stuff to Israel. The reason this is important is the way that you get a lot of your weapons to Israel is by water. And here you are, like, shutting down shipping lanes is one of the, I guess I would, like, what more effective tactic can a country like Yemen, of their size, level of development, and with their resources, like, what more even could they possibly be doing than shutting down these shipping lanes? Which, like, it's like a much more aggressive version of a strike, where it's like, we will shut down production by shutting down the entire shipping port, but we are a military, as opposed to if it was like the employees of the port doing it. So, like, I don't know what other tactic you could take if you are disgusted by the genocide going on in Palestine, which of course we all are, and if you are a nation with a military and you have the ability to do something, like, what else are you supposed? What else are you supposed to be doing? And isn't it weird that, like, Yemen is the only country even trying to do anything? ISIS never seems to shoot at Israel. It's really weird. ISIS never attacks Israel. None of the other Arab nations around there seem to do shit. Like, Saudi Arabia's over there, like, yeah, we're gonna continue to be the just American friend state over there for business reasons.
Swim on our money vaults like Scrooge McDuck. They don't really give a shit. They're pretty checked out from the whole situation.
Freaking, what's Qatar doing? What's the UAE doing? Like, nobody's doing anything. And then Yemen's like, we're gonna mess up this one little shipping lane, and it's like, we will rain hell upon you.
Right. Well, what was it, a few months ago? Like, some Houthi pirates captured a transport ship of materials. So
yes, this is just going to be eventually another embarrassing U.S. military defeat, because I don't know if anyone's been paying attention. We haven't won a war since, like, World War I. It's been just a series of being held off and then eventually going, okay, this isn't worth it, and then signing paperwork and ending things politically. How did Afghanistan end? Like, it ended in embarrassment as we're all running out of the country. And like, okay, fine. I think that one's Al-Qaeda, right? Come on back in and run Afghanistan. Hooray.
Yeah.
The U.S. president accused Iran of supplying the group with funding, weapons, and intelligence, which Tehran denies. In a letter on Monday to the UN Security Council, Iran's UN envoy denied it was in violation of a UN arms embargo on Yemen and said it was not involved in any destabilizing activities in the region. It's really funny how we're allowed to send an infinite number of bombs to Israel, but if Iran sent a single gun to anybody, it's like, how dare you? Don't you know how this works?
It reminds me of the yellow cake uranium that everybody was decrying back in Obama's.
It's like, everyone but you is allowed to have this because you're these horrible, evil brown people who are gonna, what you're doing with that. You're gonna blow up the whole world. You're just too evil.
It's such an old, tired argument too, because that's always what the North Koreans. It's the same exact thing. Like, anybody that America decides that they don't want to have any kind of defense mechanisms, they immediately are like, they're terrorists. They're gonna kill us all. They hate you, and they want your life, and to overthrow America. And it's like, let's unpack this just like for like 1 second and find out, actually, no, they are the ones that are literally in the middle of the fray, not us. And they're the ones that are like being terrorized historically. Like, this isn't new information. The Middle East has always been in complete upheaval, and generally at the hands of Americans and like the British before that. So, now it's both, but Britain just does what America says at this point. It's kind of America's gimp. There's really not a lot of daylight between which one is going to do what. So, I guess Europe and Australia fall into that category as well. Anyway, go on, please.
Ambassador Amir Saeed Iravani accuses the U.S. of baseless accusations against Iran, Reuters news agency reported. In a briefing on Monday, Pentagon officials said the U.S. attacks on Yemen were directed at a broader range of targets than the strikes authorized under former President Joe Biden. Because that's one of the things that they're like, look, man, you're just doing exactly what Biden was doing. How are you different? We elected you to not just be Joe Biden. Lieutenant Alex, Grinkovich said that Houthi drone experts were among those targeted. He added that there have been no credible indications of any civilian casualties. Washington has said some key Houthi figures were among the dead, although the group has not confirmed this. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell said the U.S. was not seeking regime change. This campaign will be relentless to degrade their capability and to open up shipping lanes in the region and to defend our homeland. Got to defend the American homeland over in Yemen.
Yeah.
On Sunday morning, the Houthis launched drones and missiles targeting the USS Harry Truman. That was, I think, yesterday, Sunday, or 2 days ago. U.S. fighter aircraft shot down about 11 of the drones, U.S. officials told BBC's U.S. partner CBS. Like, that's the thing. We're supposed to have the most sophisticated, insane military ever, and we put so much money into it. And then it turns out, yeah, it doesn't even actually work. Like, the Iron Dome has been penetrated by Iran, which is, like, U.S. military tech, supposed to be the peak of it. And I'll talk to people and they're like, oh, no, we have secret stuff that you wouldn't even believe. It's like, well, when are we busting it out? Because it keeps, like, we keep losing to dudes in, like, fishing boats with commercial drones. Like, you just tape a grenade to a thing you buy at frickin' Walmart and you fly it up to somebody and it goes off. Like, that's what drones are now. Right. There's two kinds of drones. You have, like, that, and then you have the, the multi-million-dollar advanced, for basically guided missiles that we're sending at people. But you also can just tape some improvised whatever to, like, yeah, and that like seems to be working. Action.
Right, yeah, it's not that complicated to use our own, like the lowest level of technology that is available to basically any American, and they can get it themselves and use that against America, or I guess in this case, Israel, and that be, good enough, like that work. Like, it's very, very strange that it's like they're, America wants to sit and Israel want to sit around and boast about what they can do, and then they don't do it, and they cry a foul anytime anyone tries to defend themselves. And again, it's worth mentioning that it's like, this is literally like their country, like it's happening on their land right now. We have never had to deal with that here. We're basically isolated away from that kind of a fight, or really any kind of fight. So that puts us in a position of being like, oh yeah, them over there. No, it's like, if that was happening here, you would feel the same way, and you wouldn't really give a shit who had the better point of view or the better politics. You just would want people to stop bombing your shit. So that's really where it comes down to. So it's like, yeah, we get to sit here and get into semantical arguments all day about who and what and when and where, about, a lot of bad faith arguments come out of that. But the fact of the matter is if you were in their situation, you also would not want this going on and we're talking also, look at every other war before this with the long-term damage afterwards, this massive ecological damage that goes along with these kinds of things. So, this is just basically another way to extend, I guess, the relationship between America and Israel, just by doing this favor for them, basically. And I really don't see what the plan of acceleration right now is. I don't really know why this is happening now. Like, that's kind of been the big question hanging over the whole thing. Yeah, of course, there always was an idea to do a whole greater Israel type of a thing. But why didn't they do it in the 80s? Why didn't they do it in, the 60s? It's been, they've been, invading it since, like, what, 1948? Like, why now? So what is really going on, I think, is kind of the big question there. And we're seeing sort of the micro moments of leading up to that, but no real explanation. I wouldn't say big picture, because greater Israel is the big picture, but why in the year of our Lord 2025 and 24 as well? Like, why is that happening now? So
I got one other little article about this, talking about the exact same thing here, but we're talking from Reuters here. This is from just today, and it's Yemen's Houthis will not dial down their action against Israeli shipping in the Red Sea in response to U.S. military pressure or appeals from the group's allies such as Iran, the Yemeni militant group's foreign minister said. If you've seen, again, these are, you never freaking know what's real or what's like, oh, that is real, but it's from a different year and it's about a different thing, or, oh, the translation is wrong, or yada, yada. But I continue to see clips coming out of Yemen with thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, like, packed into, like, whatever, not doing a protest, but doing basically and they say the chants are translated as, we don't care, make it a regional war. So it's like this idea of, we're just going to, like, cow the Yemenis into just, we're just going to stop. We're just going to give up the thing. It's like the level that Yemen has been treated. It's a bit like if Palestine had a little bit more control over itself, but Yemen has just been like on and off bombed by Saudi Arabia just for freaking decades, just forever. Like they just been. If you grew up in Yemen, you just grow up with, at least in the region near the port where most of the conflict happens. Like you're just getting blown up all the time. Like bombs are just going off around you. They had who was it? It was for when that big the Ansar Allah's funeral where they like the U.S. just freaking buzzed like the stadium where they're doing this guy's funeral, and everybody just starts like fists up, just like fuck you, we don't care, man. We're freaking, how dare you? Like you're freaking desecrating. Can't even let us have a funeral over here. Blah blah blah.
Right.
Which is just kind of like gross on the military's part, but I mean,
So we're all very shocked by bad behavior from the military. So
if it was you, if you grew up in Yemen, what would you be thinking right now? What would you be doing? And the idea that we're just gonna like basically punk them out of this by being like, we're gonna shoot some bombs. He was like, we've been getting bombed my entire life. Like in a lot of people's cases, like if you're under 30, it's just been your entire life has been like, oh yeah, the Saudis kind of snipe at us every once in a while, and they blow up one of our towns every once in a while, and then the Americans might assassinate one of our leaders every once in a while. And that's just like normal. So I can't imagine that. So when they say that they will not dial down their actions, like I'm not horribly shocked here, especially because they're the only country that's openly fighting against this nonsense, like in the entire world. Who else is doing it?
and what's
Jamal
their
Amer.
quality of life, honestly? Like if like your whole life, like you don't get to have ambitions to be a doctor or something if like your whole life is about, like constantly having to fight wars, constantly having to dodge bombs, be living in like an ecological disaster state, that is your life. So, it's a very different scenario that a lot of people really just can't contextualize or get their head around because they have just not had that experience of that being their life.
I mean, as an American, you like if you're doing the like Declaration of Independence and all our like founding documents, etc., you're supposed to be duty bound to do basically the exact same thing. Basically, you're duty bound as an American culturally to like you're supposed to go form Hamas if if an Israel shows up as an American, your duty is to make Hamas to then go fight. I can't remember whose like tweet it was, but it's like after just seeing how things are going, where it's if they did destroy Hamas and I was a Palestinian, the first thing I would do the next day would be to start forming Hamas too. Because what are you supposed to do? You just like lay down and take it. Like
Right.
you're not given options. Your options are what? Live your normal, try to live your life normally, and then eventually get a bomb dropped on your head, or like dedicate your life to trying to stop the bombs falling on your head, and then maybe a bomb will drop on your head, or maybe it won't. Yeah, it's like if you give people no other option, nobody just goes and does this for fun on a weekend. It's like out of necessity. They feel their very existence is threatened by these wars, which it is. So they're not gonna like, well, I'm not just gonna freaking let it happen, even in
Yeah.
this extremely unbalanced fight.
And there's this weird American attitude around it, like, why won't you just let us kill you? What is this about even? Like, you are ours. And like, so that's always surrounded at like this aura of, I think probably forever of America. Like we, like you just said, we were founded by the way of making militias. It doesn't matter what the name you call it is, a militia is a militia. And then that's where we come from. That is our heritage. And then when we're deciding, no, we want your land, give it, and other people are like, no, then then we are the bad guys. Like that's literally how it works. It's how it worked here. It's how it works abroad. It doesn't matter who the superpower is. If the superpower goes into a tiny country like Yemen and says give it, and they say no, then we are the bad guy. That is literally how that works.
Two senior Iranian officials told Reuters that Iran had delivered a verbal message to the Houthi envoy in Tehran on Friday to cool tensions, and that Iran's foreign minister asked Oman, which has mediated with the Houthis, to convey a similar message to the group when he visited Muscat on Sunday. Both officials asked not to be named. Iran has not made any public comment about recent outreach to the Houthis over their renewed action. Tehran says the group takes decisions independently. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday he will hold Iran responsible. Yeah, we all read about that. But they said there will be no talk of any dialing down of operations before ending the aid blockade in Gaza. Iran is not interfering in our decision, but what is happening is that it mediates sometimes, but it cannot dictate things. Basically, they're saying, like, Iran is, like, nice to us, and we talk to them, and they will offer advice, but they don't actually control what we do. Speaking from Yemen's capital, Sana'a, which has been hit by U.S. airstrikes, He said he had not been informed of any message Iran delivered to the Houthi envoy in Tehran. There were messages from other powers to dial down, he said, but added, now we see that Yemen is at war with the U.S., and that means that we have a right to defend ourselves with all possible means. No escalation is likely. And then we have Iranian concerns, blah, blah, blah. But the point of bringing up this article is that the Houthis are not cowed. They've been dealing with this kind of for ever, for like a really long time, for like multiple generations at this point, and it's just another one of these dominoes that is falling. Of like, you can only beat a guy down so long before they just kind of stop putting up with it. We wore out our welcome a while ago, and like your South Americas. I mean, like that's what frickin' Vietnam was. Was like, we've been getting beat down, blah blah, for this many years. Like, we're running out of countries that haven't had their little a revolution of some kind, or a turnover of some kind. I mean, it's starting in Africa now. We've already had a few countries go where your Burkina Fasos and your Nigers, and it's just gonna keep happening. The Middle East is done with it. Like all those countries are flipping and like it's just so it's been unsustainable, and it's just so nakedly obvious now that I can't believe both of our two very different political parties are in full support of this still. That they're still going to come out and tell you, like, look, here's why we got to blow up every Iranian in the world. Here's why we have to destroy certain segments of the Middle East. We will not be hearing any opinions to the contrary.
And acting like it's a good plan and a good idea. Like, that's the thing. And, some people will try to be like, no, it's for democracy, it's for freedom. But that's kind of, people don't believe that shit anymore. Well, I guess most people do. But, it's harder to get people to believe that and stick with it. So a lot of the time people are just like, no, we just want it. The end. Like, we want control of the shipping lanes.
Like, they were going to make this a real estate development thing. Like, they just come out and talk about the business now, which at least is more honest.
Which some psycho fucking AI video of like making it all like into a goddamn Palestine into a fucking resort. Like, we didn't know what that was coming. We literally on this show have been saying that the whole time, that as soon as that Biden was priming the pumps so that Trump could get in there and make Palestine new fucking McDonald's. Like, that is going to be like what is going to happen there. That is like the dream that they're trying to live. But the question is, it's like, you have to ask yourself this, like, okay, you've heard us say uniparty, you've heard other leftists say uniparty, we're hitting you over the head with it. Okay, all right, well, ask yourself this then. If the Democrats and Biden had, and again, assuming Biden was like in his right mind and stuff, let's, like, devil's advocate here, but like, let's assume that they really are looking at Donald Trump like he's the fucking devil, right? Like, he literally is the Antichrist. He's literally going to kill everybody and ruin everything. Like, the way they acted the right before he went into office the first time, right? He's the worst. Okay, so knowing then that they wouldn't be able to fully get the job done in Israel, Palestine, in that area under Biden's leadership, and knowing how things are going internally, because again, they have people that are able to predict things. That's what they have firms of people that they pay millions of dollars to see, and determine how things are going to go, that dictate where they go. Essentially, like having your own like tarot reader, but like on like a mega level, right? So if they knew that they weren't going to get the job done under Biden's leadership in that 4-year span, then they knew that it probably was going to go back to Republicans, if not Trump, which they should have already known. They would have already known. Where we're left to speculate, they would have known. So then they would say, like, okay, like, Trump is the devil, but also we're going to hand it over to him. And then now he gets to put the Golden Towers up there with his name on it. And we're not okay with that. Like what is, like, so they're not working together, but they're fine with him doing that, but they're going to tell you he's the devil, right? So where do we get off here? And that was sort of like kind of our mindset of coming into this now, because if you don't have to stick with one single poll and say like, oh, this definitely shows you, but NBC just had a poll come out that said faith in the Democrats, or approval rating of the Democrats, is 7, like literally the number 7. Only the number 7%, like 7% of who they polled, right? I've seen some other polls that have some other favorability, but obviously every poll is based on their own little pool of data and people, and then how they scale that up and stuff. But essentially, I haven't seen a poll that shows faith in the Democrats, approval rating of the Democrats being above like 27%, pretty much anywhere that did one. So we have like, nothing, let's say no poll is higher than that, right? So that means that then in their own party, that the sycophantic people, the stands, or the people that have just always just saw themselves as Democrat or liberal or whatever, that means that they have to be aware that there is collusion going on between these two parties. That's the big question here. It's like, is he the devil, give me money, or are you working with him and them, right? So that again poses even a bigger question, is we're seeing, I hate when people say things are unprecedented, because nothing is. Like we just don't know in 1852 that it also happened that way. So that's stupid to me. But we are seeing something that maybe in our lifetimes we've not really seen, which is just sort of a blatant move towards fascism and dictatorship that is being the way it's been completely cleared. We are not seeing any kind of resistance to anything that Trump or Musk are doing. So if there is no resistance from anyone, or they're willing to steamroll people about it, like in the story about the people getting detained and then deported, and then a judge being like, "Oh, you better don't." And they're like, "Hey, fuck you, pal," and then that's basically been the end of it.
Well, you got Chuck Schumer, who's just like, well, there's Chuck Schumer, who's very like weakly, not even defending, just kind of like, if someone's being rowdy at the protests, you might have to deport them.
Yeah, right. That too.
That's the resistance.
Yeah, right. And then they're at such a low ebb at this point that they're basically not even existent, right? As a party, they really just basically aren't even there. It's as if they're just gone. Like everybody on the Democratic Party went on vacation. So, but even them were like, he had a book tour coming up, and he was like going to promote it all, and he was like super into this whole book thing about how I this and how I that, and we're gonna win, pew pew pew. And they were like, "Bud, seriously, please," and like that, but like. So he postponed the book tour. Like that even fucking matters at this point, right? It's like, oh, like that was gonna mess things up. Like that was really gonna fuck up the whole like thing that we've had planned. And then him coming out being like, we're gonna win, and then fucking like disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Nothing coming of it. So it's just, I can see if you were a Democrat voter, or a Democrat that you describe yourself as, or a liberal that you describe yourself as, I can see why you would be very upset about how things are going. For us,
there has never been, this is one of your off ramps. There has never been a better time, because I know like people's personal pride is going to be in the way, because then,
yes.
Oh no, your social group is going to be like, what, you're not voting for the Democrats? But we always vote for the Democrats. That's what we do. You got to be like, well, ever since blah, 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 I just can't vote for them. Like, pick this as your off ramp. Make this that I'm flashing on screen, make this your off ramp. Bernie Sanders backs U.S. attack on Yemen. Yes, this is from January, and it's not for this attack on Yemen. It's for the previous one under Biden. So I don't know. Maybe Bernie doesn't like this one, but he liked the last one. Like, I only bring up Bernie not because he himself is the Democratic Party, but he is the outer limit as to how whatever going left even means in today's context.
Within that,
he is the far left limit. They call him a psychopath. Like he's crazy for how left, and he is up here like he supports all the wars. He supports everything that is happening. Like what has his resistance been? He's on a, I guess, give the Democratic Party money tour. He's doing a tour right now, and in it, I can skip to the end, everybody, and what he's going to do is he's going to either not run at all, or whatever candidate, blah, blah, will either drop out, and then he will endorse whoever the Democratic Party picks. That's what's going to happen. That's what happened in, 2020 and 2014? Or 2014 and 2016. Those are the years with, those are the Bernie. No, 2016, 2020, whatever. The two times he ran. The first time he looked like he was kind of getting somewhere, and at the end of the day, he dropped out and endorsed Joe Biden. Then he dropped out and endorsed Joe Biden, and then Kamala Harris after they swapped. Like, he is either... whether it's from the angle, and again, it's not just him. This is everybody. He's just the example that I use because who else Like, Bernie has gone as far as anyone has towards this end. He's not even technically a Democrat, as people will say. He's technically an independent, but he functions as the outer fence of the Democrat Party to try and keep people from abandoning it. And this is one of those times where you can gracefully bow out of continuing to vote for either of these stupid parties, because it's just the same thing. You can vote for the D or the R, but you are getting the exact same result. You might have been voting for someone like, oh, I got more, for Katie Porter, for instance. Katie Porter is the lady who used to have these big, like, slam videos for she gets into Congress and somebody will be, some CEO
like
will
her
be testifying.
whiteboard. She was
has
the one
the
always writing
whiteboard.
on the whiteboard.
She's like, if it's this much money minus this much money, how come this much money? And they go, oh my God, she just owned him with facts and logic. Well, Katie Porter has been kicked out of her seat, first of all, is what happened. Adam Schiff actually replaced her. Adam Schiff, one of the biggest douchebags possible. I didn't know humanity had it in us to create such a douchebag as Adam Schiff. But we have Katie Porter, who lost her seat to him, and she is thinking about running for governor. Well, she is actively running for governor of California, because everybody hates Gavin Newsom, because he's going to be the next president that you have to vote for. Or
No,
vote for
dude,
him.
I swear to God, they're gonna put Pete forward. I swear, I'm calling it now. It's gonna, and everybody's gonna forget and be like, Pete.
Everybody hates Gavin Newsom. I think Buttigieg would be a better choice than Newsom, but oh my God. But Katie Porter says that she's running for California governor and won't ever back down unless Kamala enters race. What does that last little line mean? Well, she was in some interview and somebody said, hey, I hear Kamala might run. What would that mean? And Katie, she didn't say, oh, I would drop out immediately, but she did say, if she entered the race, that would be what'd she say? A race clearing event, or basically, if she comes in, everybody else is going to drop out. She just told us that, and it's like, oh, okay, I see. Man, I wonder what would happen with the Democratic Party if they were democratic. Like, if you actually got to vote for your representatives and the representatives and leadership was chosen through votes. Like, I wonder if they would be in any better of a condition. But you at least have that out if you are still somehow a big supporter of the Democrat Party, is you can be like, well, we don't even pick them. Like, they pick them for us. They don't even let us have primaries. Be mad at them. It's not us. We didn't choose these candidates.
Shit always changes. Like, people have short memories, and that's the big problem with this, and they bank on it both sides. But the thing of it is like, California fucking hates Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
You know, like they always have. She like fucked things up in a big way for.
She had like the lowest
for them.
approval rating there of anywhere,
Right.
back when she was running in the primary, when we still did primaries.
They hated her guts. They hated the marginalization of prisoners and monetization.
She put
of
people
prisoners.
in jail for not paying school lunch, for not missing school. They're like, arrested your mom.
Right, exactly that, and it wasn't even just that, but it was
kept a guy on death row through
forged
people
of color. You know,
forged evidence, kept many black people on death row in California who shouldn't have been, and then DNA evidence, exoneration. You know, imagine a crooked prosecutor. There she is. Like,
yes. And people hated her fucking guts then. And then she runs for president and nobody fucking votes for her. And then because what we ended up in this last election, without relitigating the whole thing, is we had a ton of Trump supporters, which really maybe weren't as many as you might imagine. And then no fucking Kamala Harris supporters. And that's really how it went. Like, it really wasn't, it was like basically the only people who voted were MAGA people, you know, like there, or like a very, very small percentage of like Democrat stands. Like, that's really where it came from, because I'm sliding down. I'm always sliding in my seat.
Look, Kamala ran a mostly perfect campaign, according to pundits, after she lost.
It's so stupid, because like she absolutely did not. She couldn't have. And then now she's just like drunk in public all the time. And right? No, it's like, that's the fact of it is. And it's like and if you look across the board and do exactly what Jared was just showing us, like, pick one, hone in. Like, for a while, people loved Gavin Newsom. At the beginning of Gavin Newsom, he was kind of a darling. And then we almost, like, I was saying, like, oh, they're going to, before they went with Kamala, I was saying they're going to go Gavin Newsom. They're going to go Gavin Newsom. He's the one. Like, he's got the shiny, bright smile and the tall hair and the California tan. Like, he's the one. Then this guy turned into, like, the most, like, neocon psychopath, like, in the fucking world, where he was literally personally out there throwing away homeless people's shit. And then now he's like this, like, psycho on his podcast and shit, and like, I guess thinking he's gonna be the one in some way, but he has fallen into lockstep with Republican values. And even if you have people out there, well, like Bernie, just saying the bare minimum basic shit, people are still absolutely just fucking gravitating towards him like it's 2016 because they feel like that's Oppo. That is political fucking theater. That's nothing. They're raising money. And he, at this point, he was super old a bunch of years ago when this started, you guys. And there's this whole conversation now about term limits and what. But he's not going to run. And or he might act like he's going to, so that whoever comes in, he can be like, okay, all that money you gave me, boop. You know, it's just like we were talking about a little bit earlier. So that's where we're really at this point, is that there is no meaningful opposition. And if there is no meaningful opposition to someone who is acting like a dictator, or letting someone else who is not even fucking from this country, a literal like person from another fucking country, do like just hatchet job to the government. And we do agree that some of this stuff should be done, just not by who is doing it and how it's being done, and not the right things. Like, go after the fucking Pentagon if you want to fucking save some money. Quit trying to take it out of Social Security. But like, if there's nobody stopping them, what are the ends of it then? So there is no argument anymore for there being two parties, because there literally aren't. If you could only get 13 or 14 people to sign a strongly worded letter about deporting a protester who just didn't want Palestine destroyed anymore, and that's all you could get, and that's all they were willing to do, they don't actually stand for that then. You know, no, you don't see Democrats out there like putting their bodies on the line. You don't see them putting out videos like I'm going to be here, I'm going to do this, come and rally. You don't see January 6ths happening under Democratic control, because they are not part of opposition. They are part of what's going on because they are personally benefiting from it themselves. They are getting APAC money. They are getting, and that's just one. They're getting pharmaceutical money. There was this thing about Cory Booker. Did you see the thing about Cory Booker that come out the other day? He's like, first of all, he comes, and I think he knew this was coming, but he, in the first part of the day, he's posting this video. He's like with Angela Davis in it, being like, at some point you gotta stand up and stop watching and start doing, and then like 5 minutes later, they're reporting on him a quote that he said that him and his APAC handler text back and forth like teenagers. So come on, guys. Come on. I mean, we know we're preaching to the choir here, but hopefully we're giving you talking points for the people who are right now in a really prime position to get away from this situation. But you got to look forward to the next 4 years and 9 months or so from now, where we're going to be in another election cycle, and all these short memories are going to come up, and people are going to absolutely forget everything that happened here, go right back into Orange Man bad. And because don't forget, Trump could run for another term. You just can't serve more than 2 terms back to back consecutively. That doesn't mean that he can't go now it can be consecutive. And if people are fine with it, and the Democrats come out with like a big nobody again and make no big effort, this could go on. This could really continue on. And I think with that much leeway at that point, I'm not very much sure that there's any kind of gozy backseat, you know. In a bad way, because we have been saying all along, this system is broken. You can't fix this. You can't vote your way out of this. Everybody supports, all these people are supporting cop violence and cop cities and bad things happening to poor people, and trying to rub out poor people, and making life hard on anybody. Because have things gotten better in your life? Are eggs cheaper, for example? They are not, And I think, didn't Trump put out a thing on Truth Social earlier? It's like, shut up about the eggs.
So egg prices briefly dipped slightly lower than they were when Biden left office. So it's like, instead of being $6.80 for a dozen, they were like $6.50 for a dozen for a couple of days, and that's what.
Hey.
They're like, look, we eggs, kinda. It's like, not really, man.
Right. And
Until I
that's
get
just
my
like the
dollar eggs.
buzzword, right? Like that's just like the part that this like eggs represents everything. Eggs
I
represent
bring up the eggs both as because it's funny and it's kind of a meme, and also because I am completely dead serious. If they like are doing new wars, and I will comment something like, "How does this make eggs cheaper?" That's both a joke, but also completely. How does this make the thing I want you to do is this, and you're doing this, which works towards the opposite of that. Instead of funneling billions of dollars into these forever wars, why aren't we funneling a few $1,000,000, I don't know, into fixing frickin' eggs, fix our poultry system,
anything.
fix our factory farming thing. Like, factory farming
Anything.
isn't the problem in and of itself. It's how we do it. We do it in a shitty way that leads to bird flus, outbreaks, and we create our own problems. And maybe that's just a mechanism for the frickin' big egg to shove their prices higher and higher and never frickin' have a reduction because
Absolutely.
bird flu
And
went away, prices didn't go down, and now it's back.
that's a big issue too, is yeah, eggs are the example of everything. We know that inflation is
Nationalize
affected everything.
eggs. Trump, take over the egg industry and nationalize it.
Nationalize eggs for real. There's so many things it should be, but eggs are just the example, right? Eggs are the example of everything because now that these companies have been allowed to bottleneck the country, the prices are never going to go back to what they are. And if we're living
Milk
in
being $2.50 is not normal. That used to be an insane high price, and now I see it and it's a low price. Because
yeah,
before the pandemic, you'd see 99-cent milk at least sometimes, like on a special, but now never. You might see $2 milk, and that is a 100% increase.
right. And then there's, the food banks around the country are reporting like ultra high visitation like they've ever had before. Like people are suffering in a major, major way. So it's sort of like hard. You don't want to get into the like who's suffering worst argument, like because we said earlier in the hour about, well, the Yemenis and the people in the Middle East have literally been just living under like terroristic bombing their whole life. Well, that's fucking horrible. And then people here are complaining too about we have a really horrible quality of life. Yeah, but that's also horrible. I can't personally go and help the Yemenis do anything, and they can't help me do anything. But that doesn't mean that we're both not having a really bad fucking time of it. So, and that's been the entire, I think the entire idea the whole time. It was just not really able to pull off. Right now, we are living in a society that's Reagan's wet dream. This is exactly what that administration tried to put into motion and envisioned, and they absolutely fucking succeeded 40 years later, because now the poor, and I don't mean like there is no middle class. We've known that's been gone a long time, but now we are poor, and not poor and rich, poor and exceedingly wealthy. And you don't have to be a millionaire to be exceedingly wealthy. But if we're talking about the upper class having more wealth than like everybody else put together, then that is exactly what the system that they have instilled is working as intended. Making that, why do you think everything is about wars right now? It always has been for us because it makes money. But now it's like, what's this supercharged shit? Why are we at war with everyone and threatening more war? Like, why is that? Because there's so much fucking money to be made. And that's where that comes from. So that's where their attention is. The last several administrations have been absolute war dogs. And that's where that comes from. And that puts us now in a position where they take and take and take and take to put more to pay these contractors in because they want to get a bigger return. So that's where we are. That's why the eggs are the way that they are. That's why you can't afford food. That's why people are in line at the food bank. That's why nobody can afford to live. And then you'll see something on the news and it's like, inflation was down 2 millipoints. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? What did you like? Would they need to pat on the back for this? Like, this is horrible. We have no functioning fucking roads, and we don't have fucking health care, and we don't have a livable nobody has a livable wage at this point. It should be about $32, $35 for minimum wage considering inflation at this point. You can't buy a house anywhere. You can't afford an apartment anywhere in this country on a single income. And that's these are just the facts that people are living with every day. And I am always complaining that Americans will bend and bend and bend and bend, and then it comes to the breaking point and they just bend some more. I don't know where that mentality comes from. That's not who we are. That's not where we come from. We're militia people. That's who we are. So I don't have an answer to that. And if people listen to us more, then we would be saying, like, guys, guys, it's time to organize, okay? Like, we're constantly saying it. And yeah, like, nobody wants to put the body on the line. Nobody wants to fight. Some people do, but and that's not what we're saying. Again, we're not saying, like, if you want to do violence, that's your personal decision, not for us to say for you to do. Not that we agree with it or don't agree with it. We're just saying that's not for us to tell you to do, right? That's not our thing. But we need to look into things like general strikes. We need to look into things like more boycotts. Boycotts work. We've seen boycotts working, but people are just not willing to give up what tiny bits of comfort that they have. It's like, put down the fucking nest quick, okay? Like, boycott now. It's go time. Things are not going to get better until you hit them in the wallet. That's literally the only power we really have as people, is to do protesting, a la boycotting, a la general striking, because what did the George Floyd protests get us and the Black Lives Matters get us? A cop city in every fucking country, or every goddamn state, whatever. However you break up this, I don't know. But now we have cop cities everywhere just to stop this. So we have the people in power have their own militias now. Well organized. You'd even say armies in cases when you look at the NYPD. Like, at the size of that. So, you have any thoughts, or should I just keep?
I mean, you're correct to identify that the struggles are connected because we use our resources on the maintenance of empire. The U.S. policy is using things like a USAID and the NED. Yeah. It makes more sense for the way that things are set up right now, for you to export millions of dollars of food and put them into a poor country for food assistance and destroy their domestic food production market than it is to make bread cost less than $3 for like the store brand cheapo loaf. Yep. Like, we literally send food to other places for the purpose of disrupting markets, while people here can't afford food. You have freaking like MLK back in the days, like trying to explain how our system is turned on its head, where it's like you have the U.S. where people are starving not because there isn't enough food, but because there's too much food. People don't have housing not because we don't have housing, but because there's too much housing, because that's like how the artificial scarcity nonsense pushed upon us. That's what it does. So, like, ending the forever wars, closing U.S. military bases around the world, and becoming, quote, isolationist again for the first time, like, directly leads to lower egg prices, even though it sounds like a big joke where it's like, stop bombing people and egg prices will go down. It's like, literally, though. Stop bombing people and egg prices will go down, or at least the machinations will be set in motion that will inevitably result in egg prices going down. We will be forced to reduce the work week down to what it really should be for our levels of productivity, which you see that chart that just goes, productivity every year goes up. It's like, yeah, well, logically, that means that our work hours should go down. When we fought for and got our 40-hour work week way back in the day, back in the labor heydays of the U.S., they were saying, and now a 30-hour work week. And it's been more than 100 years since then, and productivity has increased just on like a freaking, by factors of 10, by factors of 100. Logically, we should be working an hour a month. We should be working like a week a year. This shit should be on like an app where it pops up. Oh, I got to do some work. Okay, boop, 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 boop. Go down, turn a lever. Okay, see you. And that's, most of our jobs should just stop existing.
It sounds kind of crazy, but human jobs at this point should be, I don't like the term, but I think you'll get the point. We should really be overseers.
We're all supervisors. All of the grunt work.
Right, because and that's the thing too, is we have never on the show been like, no automation bad. We hate AI because it's rolled out in bad ways and too fast and stupid things that people do not ask for.
The answer to the question of who's going to do these jobs no one wants to do shouldn't be, oh, immigrants will. It's like, no one will.
No.
A machine will do it, because that's what we've already done. We don't frickin' take a horse and have it pull a plow anymore.
Yeah.
We don't even have to have a guy in the tractor anymore.
Yeah, and the thing of it is that all cascades into the same problem as well. So we sit there and we say, like, no, humans should not be doing what a robot can do. Point blank. Okay, good point. Well, it takes energy to run that factory, that robot, or whatever, but we don't have efficient energy means to support that anymore, which is a big gripe against automation and against AI. And So it's like, how do we step into the future? It's like we're actively being held back, like this whole return to office shit. That is literally just for the bottom lines of people that hold office buildings.
Real estate. Your
Real
real
estate
estate value
holder.
must go up, and if
Yes.
it's an unused building, it's less than if it's a used office building. Look at my real
Exactly.
estate, blah blah blah.
And
Not because the office
that
work
turns,
needs done in an office, just because the building is worth less if there aren't people in it doing shit.
and then that eliminates middle management, and that eliminates
That's the most AI friendly job of all, is middle management.
right.
Those jobs should not gone. Guess who can make a schedule? Grok can make a fucking schedule.
Yeah, dude, for real. So it's like they're so worried about protecting their ownership class. And again, the biggest people on those pyramids are the ones, are donors to, both sides of the political spectrum. And then that's how we get here. Our policy on every single thing that we do is being dictated by the highest class of people that there are in corporations, that there are, to suit themselves. So it's not just about the war machine. That's just the most profitable, at least at this moment. It's also about making sure that they get to continue to hold people hostage, a la healthcare being tied to your job, and not providing it for people, housing not being affordable, food not being affordable. This keeps you from being able to fight back. I talk about it a lot. I've referenced it a lot. There's a documentary that came out in the 70s, 1974, called We're Still Here, and it was women incarcerated in prison. And there was a woman, and about how they got there, and there was a woman there who had kids, and she said, I didn't get here in this situation, because I was so tuned into how everything in the world was going. I had kids to feed. I had to live life. I had to do crimes in order to do it because opportunities did not exist for me. I did not care if Nixon was fucking up. And that is exactly the mindset that they want people in and know works for them. If they can keep you sick, because look at how COVID was handled, and it's not gone. It's still a problem. So if they can keep you sick and debilitated, then while also denying you any kind of disability benefit or food stamp or any kind of thing that you could potentially benefit from, even though they are the ones that put you in this position, then they have you. You are now a cog in the machine. You are the people running the metropolis of the machine underneath But in that movie, in Metropolis, which I'm always telling you guys to watch, they rebel, and there's a great big rebellion that happens. So that's something to think about too. Like, we are not people, we are cogs in a machine. And when you're sitting there comparing whose lives and what countries are worse, it's just a matter of difference. We should not have these shitty lives. Like, people before us got to choose what they wanted to do with their life, and they went and they fucking did it. Now nobody can afford to eat. Like, I don't think that that's what our ancestors had in mind. Like, I'm like an 8th generation Indianian, right? Like, I know for a fact the people that they literally came here, they were pioneers on wagons who came here from Maryland on wagons. They came here, and they are historically known as being some of the first people to settle this place. And I know those people did not want this for me. So, and I think a lot of us can relate to that story, is we are just in a position where we have been turned into nothing. Our humanity has been stripped from us. Our agency has been stripped from us. Our health has been stripped from us. And when you're living a life as a human person, there's not a whole lot left outside of that. A lot of people can't have children because they can't afford it. There's a lot of pets in shelters that are going to stay in shelters because people can't afford pets. And the industry of pet insurance now, and colluding with veterinarian places, like inflating their prices, like, people can't afford to do that shit now. Like, it's like, what else can I figure out how to make money off of? So we are in a position now that we are living non-lives, not 9 lives, non-lives. And it fucking sucks. And I think everybody can agree, but it's time that people have to actually make a move and care that Nixon is fucking up. It's where, we ultimately are.
Well, I got a song that has weirdly connections to this if you pay a lot of attention to the lyrics.
Fantastic.
I have a lot of horns going on this, and hopefully I can I can make it work in like fewer than 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that brings us to the end of the hour, and I think we will stop ranting at you for this week. We hope that you can kind of get your head around some talking points to share with some very vulnerable liberals and Democrats at this time, and kind of bring them over to the dark side and get us going as more of a united front, because the left is absolutely not united in any kind of a way. So let's make things better. Let's work on it as best as we can. Take care of yourself as much as you can. We will see you next week with whatever fresh hell is going on at that time. And hopefully this will work. We've had a little bit of technical problems getting some of his stuff to play, but when the benefit of Jared playing one of his recorded pieces is you could hear all the different levels of work that he put into it instead of just a live performance. So it's really neat. So pay attention and enjoy the wonderful stylings of our own Jared, and we will see you next week. So ta-ta, everyone.
Where is that life promised to me? For giving everything to the money. Couldn't be, I'll get it tomorrow, perhaps later on. Whoa. Where is my life? I did my best. Now should I take a bullet to my chest? Let it rest, I bet it isn't worth it. It keeps rolling on. Whoa.